Well, they need to make their bloody minds up. Let's begin. So the government appears to come across saying things like they're going to do right by the motorists and try to put a lid on councils expanding 20-mile-an-hour speed limit zones and rolling out Ulez to other parts of the country, and of course other neighbourhood restrictions that basically pee everyone off. But guess what? No legally binding rules at all. It's all apparently voluntary, just like an unenforceable suggestion. Rishi Sunak's got this big plan for drivers' deal to put a lead on local councils' powers, especially after the uproar about London's Ulez. But no, it's not making it into any big laws. The King's speech was like, nah, we'll just skip past these rules, mate. But instead, I'll tell you what, we'll drop some new guidelines for those 20-mile-an-hour zones. Simmer down on LTNs, but hey, no concrete decisions. So councils can pretty much continue to do their thing, which makes me wonder, will this start to be the rollout of 15-minute cities? Because no doubt they'll probably say, no, we won't do such a thing, but it does make me wonder if that will be another U-turn some point down the line, because they'll say, oh, things will be quite close to you. You'll be able to go from here to there as many times as you like in your brand new EV, without worrying about a flat battery. But the thing is it does make me wonder if this is all about control somewhere down the line. And remember, the government initially dangled the idea of crafting real laws and changes, but now they're all about, no, I tell you what, just some minor tweaks in secondary legislation. And of course, here comes Jeremy Hunt, spoke with a silent C, in my imagination anyway, prepping apparently to drop a big bomb in the autumn statement, probably hinting at freezing fuel duty again, which would be brilliant for us drivers, but no doubt, of course, we'll hear all the woke eco-idiots everywhere demanding, end it, stop it now! Well, I'm sorry, but we can't just stop it overnight, can we? Whether, of course, they like it or not, they surely reckon probably that the government's pro-car stance is going to mess up this whole carbon emissions reduction game plan, and saying things like, hey government, you talk the talk, but where's the walk? It's like they're suggesting, don't try to fool us with these non-binding wishy-washy promises. Well, I'm sorry, eco-idiots, but if they can do it to us normal people, then I'm sure they can probably do it to you too. But at the end of the day, the government should be on the side of drivers, in my opinion. And they obviously say things like they want to limit things like Ulez, but then do not actually make any legal laws or restrictions on councils setting them up. So are they trying to pull a wool over our eyes or something? But anyway, the article says that in the original plan for drivers, the government said we will explore and consult on options, including legislative changes. To do this, including the removal of access to DVLA data from councils that pursue such schemes. We will consider whether new guidance is also needed about the way consideration is given to the needs of all users of road networks. It has now been confirmed that any legislative changes will now come in the form of secondary legislation intended only for minor tweaks to the law, which can be enacted without a full vote in Parliament. Jeremy Hunt is also set to boost motorists in the autumn statement later this month, where he's expected to say that fuel duty will be frozen again rather than increasing it by 5p per litre after the expiry date of a supposedly temporary tax cut. Green groups have criticised the government's pro-car stance, arguing that it undermines the drive to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. Well, to them groups I'll say that planting trees will help with that, won't it? Because I'm pretty sure they do actually breathe in carbon dioxide, in which case, hang on a minute, if they want to cut out carbon dioxide, then surely isn't that killing the trees? Which I'm guessing is the opposite to what they want, so think about it. Well, I'm guessing the Scottish Parliament is about as intelligent as the Welsh one. And, don't get me wrong, they're not going to impose any new speed limits there, well, as far as I know anyway, but their latest scheme apparently involves local authorities on the verge of doubling the council tax. But don't worry, not for all the people who live there, apparently just for people who own second homes like landlords. The powers that be are aiming to turn the heat up on those tax bills, all in the name of prioritising homes meant for living in. You've got Tom Arthur, the public finance minister, singing the tune of fair contributions from those second home owners, aiming to juice up the local services. And yes, okay, it is limited to second homes, but as of September 2022, there are over 24,000 second homes in Scotland. These homes usually enjoy a sweet 50% discount on council tax, but with these new rules brewing, let's face it, not everyone's throwing out the confetti about this. There are obviously concerns that this move might squeeze landlords who are in between tenants, possibly leading to a drop in the number of available properties. And guess what that means? Yep, that's right, you guessed it. Rent prices might be inching up to take another increase again, as if they aren't taking a mickey at the moment, eh? But there's a buzz in the air with people going, aren't the councils just after more cash for their coffers? I mean, ain't exactly struggling, are they? Especially, of course, if the council can pay some of their people quite well. But they're not thinking about this properly, are they? Because it probably will impact quite a lot of landlords who are in between tenants. And actually thinking about it, may put some of them even off becoming landlords. But anyway, the article says that the Verity House agreement between COSLA and the Scottish Government sets out their vision for a more collaborative approach for delivering our shared properties for the people of Scotland. And the Scottish Greens are also apparently backing the plans, saying the move will tackle the inequality of housing shortages and will raise tens of millions of pounds for local services like schools and social care. MSP Ross Greener, the party's financial spokesperson, added, "Housing is a human right. We should all be able to access good quality, affordable homes." Yet all across Scotland, there are people being priced out of areas they grew up in, whilst thousands more are being stuck on waiting lists. With bold steps like this, we will shift the balance away from second home ownership and free up more homes for those who really need them. Well, of course, here we go again. Just Stop Oil. They just seem to have no brakes on their parade of chaos, do they? I mean, picture this. An ambulance, sirens blazing, racing against time to save a life, only to be stuck in a snail-paced blockade set up by these dumbos. I mean, come on, that's not a simple inconvenience, is it? It's a real-life emergency, and they're treating it like a roadblock in some absurd game. It's just mind-boggling, isn't it? I mean, how can they possibly justify no actions? I mean, yeah, okay, everyone's got the right to protest, but not at the cost of someone's life, especially if it's hanging in the balance. And yeah, obviously I could be wrong, but I'm guessing the words empathy and intelligence are probably missing from the dictionaries. And thinking about it, there's surely no excuse for all these lenient sentences, is there? Because they're causing a massive disruption. And if I was calling the shots, they'd be looking at some serious jail time to put them off and actually give them some sort of deterrent. Maybe, who knows, a decade behind bars for them to mull over their choice of protests. And something like that might just steer them towards more peaceful means. What do you reckon? Also, what they're not really thinking of is that obviously they want some sort of an announcement saying that we're getting rid of oil, but newsflash people, we're already on track apparently to phase out petrol and diesel cars by 2035. So surely wouldn't that be just enough for them? Because let's face it, at the moment, it seems like they're kind of protesting for a sequel to a movie that's basically already in production. But here's the big question for me. What's their grand plan? Do they expect the whole world to switch off oil overnight? I'd love to take a peek at their playbook and see what their alternative is they're suggesting for the entire country, or maybe actually even the world. No doubt they reckon they've got a cause, but their approach is just a bit pants in my opinion. I mean, it's like they're trying to turn off a tap that has been running for centuries with, on a flick of a wrist. Whether they like it or not, change needs transition, doesn't it? Not an overnight switch. Plus, in my opinion, if the person in that ambulance actually did die as a result of not being able to get through, and the protesters were aware of this, then personally I think they should all be done for manslaughter, because let's face it, if it meant that whoever was in the ambulance could have survived otherwise, then surely that would be down to them, wouldn't it? I don't know about you, but in my opinion, it just seems to be no end in sight, does there, for these pain in the bums? And of course, they've got to be pretty messed up if they think that their protest is more important than someone's life. But anyway, the article says that only 5 hospitals in the country, including Guy's Hospital, can provide the critical treatment apparently the patient needed. A spokesman for the London Ambulance Service warned delays can cost lives. Scotland Yard said officers had arrested around 40 activists by 10 a.m. But of course, Just Stop Oil attempted to claim that it was police officers, not protesters, who blocked the ambulance. But hang on a minute, sorry, but if they were never there, then the police officers wouldn't be there either. So surely it is down to them, isn't it? Especially if they didn't move out of the way. And of course, the woke climate cabal claimed that protesters had been dragged and forced to the ground as they were handcuffed. Well, sorry, but I'm guessing if you were protesting peacefully and got out of the effing way, then there wouldn't have been any need for that, would there? But if you think that is bad, then wait until you see this video with what was going on here. Are you enjoying this video so far? Good! Make sure you click the subscribe button down there and you can see more of them.